Well, well, well. One step forward, one step back. Another opportunity to make another Mustang video. Hold on, let's go. Hey, what's up? Ted Rankin here. I'm going to be doing a little bit of work on my front suspension. Installed the K-member in my last video, and what I found out at the end was that my bump steer was all wrong. The angle of my tie rods versus the angle of my lower control arms is in pretty bad shape. Right now they're almost crossed over instead of being kind of in a parallel. So I'll show you that. We'll get the car up on some stands and kind of explain what's happening there. I have the instructions from the K-member install, and it did say that you were going to need adjustable tie rod in kit. I already have that. And that you're going to need the spherical rack bushing mount kit, which I had for my stock K-member. That was just a straight, solid, that's a through right in the center of the mount. And what this wants to do with the new rack mount is it wants to be adjustable so you can move the rack up. And I don't know if I can get this on here, but you can see this has 3 adjusting points in it. So you'll be able to move that rack up and get the geometry of the pivot point closer to where it is now in relationship to the K-member, which is moved up to its highest point of the Maximum Motorsports K-member. And then what I found out with my adjustable tie rod ends is that they are too short. I have the tapered end, and they're only so long, and they only give you enough drop. It's not enough to compensate for what I need. So what I ended up doing was getting the Maximum Motorsports through mounting, which has bolts that are much longer, and it has a standoff that drops it much farther down. So it looks the same as any other, but the treat is in the bolts here. So it gives you 5/8 bolts, 5/8 diameter here, and it also gives you more of a drop. So I'll be able to drop this thing farther down. That'll make sense when we get into the underside of this, and you can see the geometry problem I'm having now. It's really messed up. It's all fixable. So let me get this car up on some stands. That way I can drop it back down, have the suspension under load, and we'll be able to see what's happening there. Hold tight and we'll get that going. I have the car up on some stands now, and balanced out, so chassis level. And here's what I was talking about. Let's see if I can get in here. So if I can make this make any sense to you. So right now you can see that my tie rod end in relationship to the lower control arm is pointing up, up, up. And then back here, where so I can get it straight on. There you go, you can kind of see that even better. So the tie rod end is up higher, right here, then it's pointing up higher, and then we come back here to the back side of the tie rod, and you can see there's the mount up on top. That's the mount for the lower control arm, and then here's where the tie rod would meet with the steering rack. And you can see it's considerably lower, which in itself isn't too bad. But with the angle I have now, I have my lower control arm about parallel with the ground, maybe with a little bit more of a upward inclination back here. But the tie rod is obviously at the wrong angle. It's pointing up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use those solid mounts, and I'll move the whole rack up and get that to come into closer proximity of the pivot points. And then I'll use the tie rod ends to drop this down. And as a starting point, I'll try to get the tie rod like level with the lower control arm, and then we'll do some testing with a bump steer and see how close we are. I do not pretend to be any expert on doing the bump steer measurement, but I have the kit to do it. So anyway, that's what is up today. So to do this, everything that I put together for the K member, obviously, I had to put this all back together. This all has to come back apart. The reason why is that this has to be drilled out to 5/8 for those bolts, and to do that I have to take this whole thing apart. I don't think I would try to do this while it's in the car. No, I don't think so. So anyway, I'm going to take the whole thing apart, take this up to a local shop, get it in a nice vise, drill it out the right way so it's not wonky or anything. So that's it. We'll tear this all apart, and when I get it all back together again, we'll resume with the bump steer kit installation. Start by taking the caliper off. For me, these are 16s, but I've retrofitted these to Brembo 4-piston from ATS Cadillac, but yours may be different. We'll get this suspended up and away somewhere. There we go. That out of the way. Pull the rotor off. It's out of the way. We'll get the steering spun back around. Something like that will do. Alright, so we need to take off the brake duct. Okay. These are 24s on the front, and it's not a 24 on the back, it is a 24 on the front, 21 on the back. And then we need to pull the sensor off It's loose now. So that is a 19. Spin that loose. It's free. And now we have to go. That out of the way. Get that out of the way. Go. Let's do this first. Getting ahead of ourselves. That is a 24. Okay, so that's that. That one's off. And then as I said, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this and drill this out to 5/8. I don't know what that is right now. I'll throw a measurement on it and see what we got. So that's it. I'll do the exact same thing to the other side, and then we're off to the races. Now that I have the steering knuckles off, I'm going to quickly see if I can just get those new mounts on here, and without maybe too much hassle. I wonder if I can do this without undoing the steering shaft. So we'll see. I'm going to loosen these up and then put the new spacers in. I should be able to do that. It's just this bolt that goes through, and then there's the nut on the back side. I should be able to just loosen this up, put it all together. All right, see how that goes. Hold tight. I'll show you what's happening in a minute. So this is how this is going to go down. Get some parts out here for you. So this is the front part of the solid mount, and you can see there's 3 positions. There's a quarter, center, and 3/8 up, right? You mount it up. Then on the back side, you have the same thing, except this one is concaved, and then it has this piece that goes in to this, and that allows it to self-center for binding. It'll slide around so it can get the right orientation once it's on the steering on the K member. So it's simply just going to go like this, right? The front part, back part, boom, into here. And the instructions say that for the 4.6 that they want you to go first to the 3/8, or sorry, to the quarter inch, and you know, and then see if you've got clearance. Since I've got the aftermarket oil pan, you know what, I think I'm just going to go ahead and, you know, I'm going to do what they tell me not to do, just like last time, which worked out perfectly. And I'm just going to go ahead and push it all the way up right out of the gate, and we'll see how that goes. So here we go. Let's see. I think I got these loosened up. And again, I'm going to try to do this without undoing the steering shaft. I think I'm going to be able to get away with that. Let's see, that and that. And then I think this out. That's got some weight on it. Okay, well, we'll see how it goes, all right? There's the old one. There's the spacer that goes in the back. Can I pull this forward? There's that. So the old one that I had, you can see, is just a solid. And it all stays together. And then I'll be able to illustrate. So this is going to go like this, right? It's going to move the whole rack up. Same thing on the back, it's going to go like that. And then the spacer just simply floats like that. So that's how that's going to go. So let's see if we can get this kind of in the right shape here. Yeah, that's just spacing. Okay. So this is going to go like this, like that. This is going to go like this. Do that. Pretty much like that. And that leaves me pretty good clearance. Let's see if we can't do the same thing on this other side here. That. This is going to go like that. Let's see, am I blocking your view? Go. It's not right. Hold on. Oops. So it's kind of hard to see because the other lines I have up here, power steering line, but I easily have a 1/4 inch. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. And now, let's see, where can you see? Sorry about the wind. I don't know how bad it is, but there you go. That's what it's going to look like. I'll finish getting this bolted up, but it's not really that complicated. If you're already running these solids, it's easy to do, and you just swap them out one for the other. If you're doing a complete new install, a little bit different, follow the instructions, of course. So that's that. So there we are, installed, and kind of hard to see. Oops, sorry, that's my light, because it's black on black. I'd say the most difficult part of this is just keeping the keyway just straight up and down 90 degrees, but you know, you mess around with that a little bit, it's fine. And same thing over here. And then the clearance to the oil pan, that's tough to get on camera because there's so much stuff in the way. But they want you to have a 1/4 inch. I've definitely got a 1/4 inch. The interference that you see right there, that's a power steering line. But the rack itself has plenty of room. I don't know if we can get that, but that's it. And now you can see how high up that's moved. You can no longer see the bolt for the lower control arm. So these are much closer in line. You can see where, if you draw an imaginary line coming straight out to where the control arm is. So this is going to be up like this to some degree when we get this all back together. So we're on the right path. Now I just have to get those steering knuckles over on Monday. The shop's closed today. Forgot about that. But that's that. We'll see how it looks when she's back together. Hey, I'm back. So I've got the steering knuckles modified. Got the tie rod end hole drilled out to 5/8 straight through. And as I was getting prepared, kind of getting everything ready to go here, I realized that the tie rod end here that came with my new kit is exactly the same as the tie rod end that came with my my tapered one. So I was in the process of taking everything apart and realized, hey, don't take it apart, because it's going to be set for your toe in, toe out. And I know I'm going to have to adjust this, but at least I don't have to go through the process of taking this off. I was getting ready to make my mark here, so I knew where to run everything back up. And so yeah, just use the old one. If you've already got the Maximum Motorsports tie rod ends, the adjustable tie rod ends, leave your old one in, and it'll be a perfect starting point when you go to adjust your toe. because it is going to be whacked if you've done exactly what I've done. If you've done the rack mount pushed up, and if you've pushed the steering control arms up, yeah, your toe is going to be way off. So let me get this all back assembled, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do as far as just kind of the bare bones basic get started positioning of the adjustable tie rod ends. What I'm going to show you in this step is not bump steer adjustment. This is just rough it in, and then you got a lot else to do. So that's it for now. I didn't show assembling the tie rod in here because there's really not much to talk about. Once you've had the knuckle drilled out to 5/8, the bolt just drops through, and then the other thing that you're going to do is, in my case, as my starting point, all I'm trying to do is get the tie rod parallel to the control arm, and so I've just added in just every single spacer that was available, and I'm just right about there. But that's it. So, but this kit comes with, I don't know how many spacers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's some that are super thin. All the sizes are in the instructions for the Maximum Motorsports kit. But that's it. I mean, it's so simple. And the other cool thing about this is that when you go to take this apart in the future, it's not pressed in, so you don't have to worry about using your puller or knocking it out. You know, some people try to bash the thing out. So that's it. That's where we are on the assembly of the tie rod end. Hey, so I'm just having one of those days. Yesterday I was putting the suspension back together, and just as I'd kind of got that buttoned up, my neighbor decided it was time to have a yard party. So, you know, all this chattering and music going on, it just wasn't good for recording. So came out this morning and went to start making some measurements. Kind of did some last night, just eyeballed, and my cheap little digital inclinometer angle gauge from Harbor Freight is just decided it doesn't want to play with me anymore. The batteries are good, but the buttons are wearing themselves out. They aren't. It won't calibrate, and if I can get it to calibrate, then it will just jump. It just won't take it. It'll bounce around from, you know, 1/2 degree to 1 degree. So something's gone funky with this thing. Got one coming from Amazon, I think I ordered it from. It's supposed to be here today. So once that comes in, I'll get back onto this, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about on these angles. Pretty darn close. Kind of running out of adjustability already. We'll see how it goes. So just taking my 0 point off of the center of the K member there, and then I'll take that, grab that, and bring them over here, and so I don't know, 0.85. And we've got, you know, a little bit of a downhill. And let's see what we've got here. Flat, like right at 0. So less than a degree on the control arm. You know, I don't know. What do you expect for 20 bucks? But anyway, so under a degree. So we're within 1/10 of a degree, and I don't know what that means in terms of bump steer, but hey, so there we go. So those are pretty darn close. Then moving over to our other side here. Let's get this thing up here.
So 0.65, 0.7. You know, I don't know how well I can trust this thing. And then over here, so these are almost dead on to each other, if I can trust this. So 0.8. Well, so that's 0.655. So this is actually even down a little bit. Well, or not. Yeah. Don't know how much we can trust the. So that's maybe down a degree. So anyway, you can tell it needs some work. And truth be told, I don't have these torqued down. So there might be, who knows, not much, I don't think. But so that's where we're at. That's my starting point. But I have to do everything else before I can move on with getting the bump steer completely settled. So you know, for this test, I've got the car level on jack stand, so I'm not under any more downward force. So the car, instead of, you know, I don't want any nose down weight compromising the measurement. And so that's it. You know, maybe I'll mess around with that a little bit, but I don't see any real reason to do so. But also, a lot of that's probably going to depend on the difference between left and right side is how I've adjusted my coilovers for ride height. There's nothing that says that this center point from my ground zero to here, when I've got my coilover set, that they're the same. So, you know, I could be seeing some variance just because of that. So anyway, that's why you bump steer, because you just can't go off of that. Hey, if you're just doing this for streeting around, I am sure that is close enough. I am sure that's just fine. But if you're going to be tracking it and you're concerned about it, and if you've already bought the bump steer gauge like I have, I bought it back when I had my stock K and I was doing all that stuff and changing out ball joints and trying to get that sorted out. Okay, so that's it. That is installing the offset steering rack mounts. That is installing the adjustable tie rod ends for bump steer adjustment. I'll do another video on bump steer itself. I'll walk through that myself and try to get that down and then show you guys what's going on with that. But this is just the install, and this is how you do it. This is what you'll end up with. And you know, like I said just a minute ago, if you're just gonna street this thing, I bet that's just fine. I bet you're okay. But if you're gonna do maybe some more serious tracking, something like that, or if you're just one of those guys that just, you know, is curious and likes to get stuff kind of set up the right way, maybe, that's what I'm doing. You know, just trying to learn more. And you know, I'll track this thing, but I'm not time trialing, I'm not competition, I'm just going out and doing, you know, HPDE stuff. It's just for fun. So, you know, do what you will, do what you want. So until next time, have a good time, keep on wrenching, and I'll see ya. Bye.